Today, I'm talking about the brand new book by Victoria Aveyard, Realm Breaker. Beginning of the year, I said that was a book I wanted to read, and serendipitously, I got an advanced reading copy. That's ARC to those of us in the industry. So I'm here to talk about some brand new fantasy that I discovered, brand new series, and I hope you stick around because I got all dressed up, put my hood on, so we can talk about this here new book. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome to Matt Reviews Books. I am Matt, and this is a book review channel dedicated, well, to books, because otherwise it'd be really hard to be a book review channel dedicated to movies. Maybe it's out there. YouTube is weird. I talk about written, printed word, sometimes some audiobooks, but mostly fiction, nonfiction, and even graphic novels. But generally speaking, not YA, which makes today's review a little outside my normal bell curve, an outlier on that bell curve. Maybe that's because the publishing industry has changed how they define YA. I'm not that hip to the trends of advertising, or marketing. So maybe that's what happened. But this is being marketed as a YA novel. I don't know why. I'll get to that later on. In the meantime, let's actually talk about the book. Realm Breaker is an excellent fantasy story in the best tradition of the fantasy that I grew up reading in the 80s. In the best tradition of Raymond E. Feist or David Eddings, she creates a vibrant world with larger-than-life characters. The pacing is quick without sacrificing description, and the dialogue forwards the story without being empty exposition. Aveyard's new world, called Allward, feels lived in and expansive. No matter where the story leads, there's always something else just on the other side of the horizon that we don't get to see in the story, but it feels like it's out there. Realm Breaker is set in a world, Allward, that one time was the crossroads between other worlds, and they came through these portals that were called spindles. And at the time that the story is written, that we are introduced to Allward, the spindles have been closed. Their location has been lost. Locations, several of them across the ward, as they call this world. And there are these people in Allward who are from another world, and they're stuck here, and they age much slower than humans, than mortals, and they're considered immortal, and they heal at a higher rate. So they're considered like demigods, and they're called Elder or Vetera. While the Vetera are very tough, they can be hurt and they can be killed, which is established very early on into the book. Word gets out, or word gets around, that a spindle, one of these gates, has been rediscovered, and there's a plot to reopen it. And so the heroes, mortal and immortal, human beings and Vetera, come together in this quest, the companionship, to try and close the gate. However, they are too late. They get there too late. The spindle is open, and they have to defeat an army from another world. Oh, two survivors make it out. One, Andrew Galland, who is a human squire to one of the realm's great knights, his heroic knight, and Domacrethan, a veteran. Domacrethan, Dom, is an elder, and he manages to survive even though other elder in the party are slain. Poor Andry spends a good portion of this book thinking he's the only survivor of the massacre. And Dom, who is from this group of people, this race of people who don't fear anything because they heal super fast and nothing in Allward can hurt them, suddenly realizes that he's basically as mortal as anybody else, and he doesn't really know how to handle that fact. He figures out that there is a descendant of an ancient family, an ancient race of humans who has the ability to close the spindles. So he goes to find this last descendant, the core blood, so they call them, from the old core empire in this world. And he finds her and finds this mystic sword. They go in search of this mystic sword. And Andry joins him, and they basically reform this ragtag little band of companions to go try and prevent more spindles from being opened up. It's a quest story with a mystic sword. I mean, come on. It's either a ring or a sword. It's obvious that Aveyard is building a new world to play in over the course of several novels, like a series, as she did with the Red Queen series. I've never read the Red Queen series, but now I'm going to, I think, go check it out. It's a new series in a new world, and I dig it. Aveyard's very good at this. I enjoyed this book a lot. I'm already looking forward to a sequel. Now, just a quick note right here, just a quick note about the marketing of this book. It's really good. There's a sizzle reel, a trailer for the book online. I saw Victoria Aveyard. She put it up. She posted it on her Twitter. You can go check that out, and it's top notch, aces. Victoria Aveyard's website has it listed as a YA title. I disagree with this description because even though it lacks the gore and the explicit descriptions of, say, George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, it feels like Raymond E. Feist or David Eddings or Stephen Donaldson. It's compelling, it's engaging. Well, yeah, if that's what you're into, if you're into like those older, they weren't marketed as YA. I'm not sure why this one would be, because they have HarperCollins has part of their stable of writers, Raymond E. Feist, under the HarperCollins imprint. They're two very similar writing styles, and they're both fantasy genre. At the same time, the Realmbreaker is being marketed as YA. I don't know why. So if you're watching this and you're like, it says YA and you don't review YA, I'm like, no, I read this book and it's a fine book as for all ages. Go forth and read it, people. I disagree with this marketing strategy. YA. It's not YA. Fantasy was fantasy when I was a kid. That's what I said. Sword and sorcery is fantasy. Fantasy is fantasy. That's all for me. Thank you for spending your time with me. You can find a written version of this review on my website, MatthewReedMedia.com. I can't remember my own website. I'll put the link in the description so you can read it, check it out. I'm also on Twitter. You can find me at Matt's Book Review. You can also, or Facebook.com/MattReviewsBooks. And with that, I will see you next time.